All right. Cyni was originally going to be doing this talk by herself, but I managed to get here. So, why are you all here? This is a technical conference, and really, social engineering isn't really technical. It's talking to people, which is not nearly as cool as circumventing a firewall. But what if I told you that a couple weeks ago, $1 billion credit union let me walk in, completely unauthorized, didn't even check an ID, let me sit at one of their cubicles and plug into their network, all while I wasn't supposed to be there at all. That is a great
to pay for grad school and then got promoted to systems admin. I did systems administration for 2 years and a little bit of programming and systems analysis. And after that, I came to Trace Security, where I've been for 2 years. I fell in love with the industry. It's kind of awesome. So I'm working on a master's in cybersecurity now and a graduate certificate in terrorism and homeland security, because when I grow up, I want to track human traffickers and pedophiles internationally.
Like I said, I'm Bethany. Like Cyni, I did not start off in information security at all. I actually started off as an English and linguistics major. Then this meme became way too relevant to my life, and I decided I wanted a paycheck after I went to college. So I went to the University of Arkansas and got a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. While I was there, I took an RFID security class and totally fell in love with the industry. I jumped right in, became an information security analyst as well. In this role, we perform pen tests, risk assessments, IT audits, way too much vulnerability scanning, and, of course, social engineering engagements. So far, I've completed 60-plus social engineering engagements to date. This is everything from phishing to walking right in the front door.
Okay, so now that you know about us, why do we actually matter here? So if you don't know, anthropology is the study of human beings, so it's actually really, really useful in social engineering. And if y'all ever want to geek out about anthropology with me, you totally can come find me, because I can talk about it for hours, but I have to keep it contained today. Physical and biological anthropology addresses like evolutionary character traits like involuntary color changing that indicates mood, and cultural anthropology actually addresses like social classes and gender, which also is really, really important in social engineering. I use anthropology on a day-to-day basis because of this.
My background in liberal arts also really helps. I need to know how to craft just the right phrase, create professional-looking documents, and know how somebody's going to react to me. It's character analysis in the real world. Another thing that has been really useful is that I was a theater kid in high school. If you're really serious about doing social engineering, I would suggest taking improv classes. Whose line is it anyway? It's actually a really good training exercise. It makes sure that you can react to no matter what's thrown at you. But there's a lot of talk about why these non-technical things are really important. So where's this actually gotten us?
So far in my vishing projects, I've gotten a total of 7 sets of user credentials, usernames, and passwords, like the thing that people tell you never to give out over the phone because they're never going to ask for it. Well, I got 7. 5 of them were Active Directory, and 2 of them were for the core financial processor. So if you guys are unfamiliar with financial institutions, the core financial processor is the system they do all of their transactions and store their account information, pretty much the powerhouse. And you may be thinking, what does that matter? How can you use that? Well, they all gave me their external IP addresses as well. And all I had to do was ask for it. I just used a little bit of fancy wordsmithing and a little bit of voice changing, and I got them pretty easily. And I'm pretty socially awkward as a whole, but I would much rather ask someone for their password because I know I'll get a compromise that way in my pen tests.
And this isn't just, there's one place that totally sucks. We have done this on multiple occasions, walked in and out of a bunch of branches, and I've even come back the next day after I compromised 4 locations. I came back as myself because I had a different assessment I had to run. And the manager that I talked to the day before didn't know I still was not an ADA compliance consultant. She was just like, oh yeah, I didn't know you were coming again today. You know, is there more stuff we need to do? She didn't know until after I left and their IT manager told them. We find lots of other sensitive information while we're in there. People love to leave things on printers, unlocked computers. I've been in a lot of mail rooms where they just go ahead and hang out in the mail room with your giant bag, and certainly none of that's going to disappear.
So it's important to know what it is in case anybody in here doesn't know. I think most of us do. Social engineering is the exploitation of human psychology in order to accomplish a goal, or as I like to call it, people hacking. You can hack their psychology using fancy words and flashy smiles instead of a firewall, and it's far easier since you can't really install a host-based IDS or IPS on a human being yet.
We're working on it. There are 3 or 4 types of social engineering depending on who you talk to. First one's phishing. This is the most common. This is all your spam emails, your spear phishing, what got Target, what got Sony. Then there's indirect. This one's contested because people say it's not really social because you're not talking to anybody. But this is information gathering, dumpster diving, even things like leaving a USB in a parking lot or handing them out at a security conference. People will plug them in because, hey, it's a nice USB. We're mainly going to be talking, though, about phishing, which is voice phishing. This is done over the phone, normally either to get information like credentials or to get someone to pay for a service that they really don't need. Then we have the physical, which we also call on-site, and this is where we actually go on-site and try and breach a physical location.
It's definitely the most fun, absolutely. So have you guys ever heard of the Trojan Horse? Like, not the computer virus, but the real actual Trojan Horse statue? Well, that was social engineering, so that's like a long-ass time ago, so why are people still falling for it? You'd think that they'd learn, you know? Well, stereotypes. I'm sure you guys have experienced stereotyping in the industry. It's kind of a big deal since, you know, we're all hackers and hackers all look the same. And they're definitely more important than you think when it comes to social engineering. Stereotypically, women have girl jobs. Teachers, nurses, not hacker or social engineer. And Bethany and I are generally more successful because we are females. And it's a deep-rooted evolutionary trait, going back to anthropology, and it makes users trust us simply because we're women. Women are generally seen as, like, maternal, so we're seen as protectors instead of harming people. So it helps us out, like, a lot, just because we're females. But we will address how to get around these things, don't worry. Also, science, because at the moment we can't really do anything to protect human beings from being themselves. Humans are trustworthy and helpful by nature, and even if we're not immediately trusting, we still want to see how something's going to turn out because we're curious, and we always want to see a train wreck happen or a car crash, even though it's just horribly morbid. So,
why everybody slows down
yeah,
during a traffic jam.
And social engineers go a step further and give us social, psychological reasons to trust them, like having confidence, for example. You can actually really mess somebody up by being extremely confident.
You're completely wrong.
Yeah. So let's break them down a little bit. I want everybody in here to picture what a non-industry person thinks a social engineer or a hacker looks like. What gender are they? What is their age? What's their race? How do they dress? What is our stereotype? Because, did you picture these people? These are our stereotypes, guys. These are the people that everyone thinks we look like. And what do you notice about them? What do you notice about age, race, gender, everything I mentioned in the beginning? They're all young-ish, socially awkward-looking, white males, except for Raymond Miller. Mr.
He's very pale, though.
Yeah. We're moving towards being racially expanded, but still.
And we got Sky, you know, for a little while.
Right. Even the women in pop culture, like she mentioned, like, they always show up as the surprise villain hacker at the end, and people usually disregard them as fiction because they're the surprise villain hacker. They're the bad guys. And even people who have known me longer than I care to admit still can't believe that I sit in front of a computer all day with green text flying everywhere, and I'm using words like grep and sudo and root.
They're just pretty sure she's speaking in tongues and exorcism.
And one of the analysts, actually, on his first day at my job, I introduced myself, and he was like, "You're an analyst? Not a salesperson?" "Thanks, buddy. That's cool." "Yeah, I am." And even my clients, I had one client who specifically chose the AT&T network technician ruse on a social engineering project because I did systems admin at a credit union, so I knew what to look for. And when I did the exit briefing, the CEO was like, "Why did you pick network technician?" And he said to him, word for word, "AT&T doesn't hire girl technicians." So most people do it subconsciously, and you can't really help it. And it's helpful information to have, which is why I'm going over it right now. If you do fit the stereotype, you can use that to your advantage by changing how you dress or how you groom yourself or how you carry yourself, even since hackers are supposedly, socially awkward and stuff. Change your body language and things like that, and you should be good to go.
Which is exactly what we're going to go into right now. Everything starts with you. You have to convince yourself of your cover story first before you convince anyone else. You need to choose a cover story that's not only good for the target, but that's good for you. I went to school to be a programmer. I'm a software gal. You throw hardware in front of me, and I'm going to bumble around. However, I did a part-time job for 6 years of being a worker in a disabilities office. The compliance consultant ruse is really, really good for me because I can BS about accommodations all day long. So use your own knowledge. If you have a background in something, use it. We'll talk a lot about truths and using truths in your cover story, and that's actually really important. And even though it sucks, play to expectations. Another reason why the network tech role doesn't work great for me is because I am female. I don't fit the stereotypical network tech that everybody thinks of. Obviously, girls can be network techs, and if you think otherwise, there's something wrong with you. But if you play along to the expectation, they're going to believe you a lot quicker. Disability accommodations, typically it's seen as womanish to, take care of other people, which is all what accommodations is about. So since I fit that, going along with it, people don't question. Those are the big things. Getting down to the details, though, balance is key. You don't need to know your fake mother's maiden name or what grade your non-existent child is in school. If you have too many details, you're going to forget your own story and trip up over yourself and look really weird. If you use props, use them carefully. If you're an exterminator, you don't need to show up with a workload of construction tools. You're not going to chase the termites around with a saw. When I'm a compliance consultant, normally I have a fake ID and a clipboard. I'm sorry, the clipboard still does work. And a checklist that, honestly, I printed off of Google. Clothing is very, very important for this. What I do, of course, I dress business casual. I have some coworkers, though, that they do the pest control a lot. So they've gotten polos with a fake logo embroidered on them. That's great if you can do that and you have the funds for it, but really just using the idea of the uniform can work. If you don't believe that just having the right colors will trick people, put on a blue shirt and khakis and try to go shopping at Walmart. You'll get asked a lot of questions. Then you've got grooming. When Again, I'm a consultant, I have my hair back all nice, I've got modest jewelry, low-key makeup because that's expected for female business people. But if I am a network tech, I'm going to have a messy bun, I'm going to have no makeup whatsoever, and I'm going to look completely different because of it. And this doesn't just have to do with girls. So guys, you know, if you have a big unruly beard or a whole lot of tattoos, you know, you don't fit the stereotype of an insurance inspector. However, you know, the pest control guy, somebody coming to give a painting, you know, estimate, those are great ruses.
This is my favorite slide.
And then we have some fun Jedi mind tricks, like color psychology, where you can hack someone with your shirt. Star Wars is actually a really great example, because think of all the colors of lightsabers. The Sith all have red, which is a very passionate, energetic, angry color. And then you have Luke, who has blues and greens, which are really calming, you know, the good, light side of the Force. You can do this by just the color of what you're wearing. Typically, I like to choose calming colors like blue or green or even purple, because blue shows off, you know, professional vibe, very calm, whatnot. Purple's kind of royal, you know, respectable. Brown is actually really good because it shows you're reliable. But you don't want to go all monochrome unless you're trying to be the UPS guy, because you'll look really funny.
Like a box.
Like a box. Generally, I choose a button down in that color and then just plain black slacks in the black color, so you look very professional, but you still are giving off that hint of color.
So with all these personal modifications that you're making, there's one real goal that you have to keep in mind, which is you want to get your target to trust you so they will comply with your requests. And so since I said before, humans are more inclined to trust a stranger until a stranger gives them another reason to, give them a reason to trust you. First impressions, I'm sure you've all heard by now, because you all probably interviewed before, they're incredibly important. How many people have given you advice on your body language? You know, sit up straight, look interested, have a really strong handshake. But think about the science behind that, because it's all body language. But has anybody ever given you advice about your face? Because your face is important. It's important. Before even seeing your body language and how you carry yourself, people look at your face. And human psychology dictates that humans react different to certain aspects of your facial features. So, new scientists did a study, and the psychologists found that facial structures will give someone an idea of your personality. Like if you have a baby face, you'll be really good at social engineering because you look innocent. But it probably wouldn't work for you in a masculine field like the military. Just because you look innocent, it just makes people think that you are innocent.
Yeah, my first day on the job, one of the guys was like, "I cannot wait until you social engineer because you look so precious." I'm like, oh dear.
And women with a soft face, like Bethany, tend to be more successful in healthcare, education, or whatever caregiver role because they look maternal. And unfortunately for some of us, no offense to anyone, it includes attractiveness. Most people assume that attractive people have an outgoing or friendly personality in addition to being really intelligent and socially competent. It's just a subconscious thing and it has nothing to do with how you actually are. And another theory done by Charles Darwin says that your personality actually shapes your face. The muscles in the face and found that the ones that you use more often are more prominent. So if you smile a lot, the muscles that you use to smile are more prominent in your face and you'll look perpetually happy. But how can you use this? Well, if you know your face is untrustworthy, fix it.
Smile more, jeez.
Yeah, I know. Smiling's not hard and it's actually fun. I like to smile.
Face squats. Do that a lot.
Yes, face squats are really useful actually. If you can see this picture, having an upturned mouth and eyebrows gives off like a more trustworthy face. And the study's online also, so you can just Google it and look at what a trustworthy face looks like. So you can practice in the mirror and like relax your face a little bit, raise your eyebrows just a tick, relax your lips, maybe smile more, you know. See if it gives you a friendlier expression.
Yeah, if you ask somebody, is my face trustworthy? And they go, yeah. No, it's not.
Read their body language.
Which, All right. Once you get the structure of your face down, we have to talk about expressions. There are two kinds. There are macro and micro. Micro expressions are often involuntary, which makes them the most dangerous. This is little things like, the widening of the eyes. You're really supposed to be there, and somebody lets you in on the first try, and you look surprised, that's a problem. Even just like a uptick of your eyebrows could signal to the target that something is wrong. Macro expressions are a lot easier to control, but you have to do so carefully and you have to practice. It's very easy to tell if somebody has a fake expression, especially if you're up against women. I'm really sorry, guys, but it's been scientifically proven that women are better at reading facial expressions than men tend to be. Whenever your girlfriend says, oh, that person was upset, and you're like, no, they were fine. What was wrong? That's part of it. So here, you want to get these under control and make the user trust you. This is more practicing in the mirror, but also more improv. Basically, have a friend say different things to you that a target might say to you. Denials, yeses, letting you in, hey, do you need to see this? And learn how to react appropriately. And then once you've got your face down, you have to work on your body language. Communication is 55% body language. Word choice is only 7% of it. Your tone is another 38%. And we'll talk a little more about that in a bit. If you want to seem super confident and inspire trust, you do the whole interview thing. Square your shoulders, lift your chin, This shows you're trustworthy, you know what you're doing. Sometimes it's good to look sympathetic, and so kind of slouching, looking timid, that can actually work really well for you. Pay attention to your hands. They actually tell a lot about you. Twitching or tapping can show anxiety. Touching your face shows thought. Ears is indecision. And my big problem is I mess with my hair, which shows insecurity. I actually do have anxiety, so I've probably been doing that a lot without thinking about it. Instead of trying to suppress it, which would be actually really hard for me to do, I work it into my context. Somebody notices that, hey, you're really twitchy, Why do you look so nervous? Say something like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm new. This is my first time by myself, I'm just kind of nervous because I don't want to screw it up. People love to help out the new person. And you can use this to your advantage too. Arm placement can really help. See how your target reacts to you. If they're protecting their ribs, they might feel threatened. Or if they're crossing their arms, they're hiding something or they don't want to talk. And, putting your hands on your hips generally means you're upset. So this was something I did even before I got into this job. I used to go to auctions with my father a lot, and he would always send me to carry the heavy stuff while he went and paid. And the reason he did that was because, excuse me, we bought this. It's kind of heavy. Can you help me get it to the car? I'd have 5 guys carrying a gun safe for me, and it would be loaded before he had even finished paying.
But if you can't pull off the damsel in distress thing, because sometimes that looks really weird, you have mirroring. Mirroring can be used subconsciously to gain trust from your target, and most people mirror without even thinking about it. But if you are thinking about it, you can use it to your advantage, because people like themselves. It's a subconscious thing. It gives you a sense of comfort or connection or belonging, and you definitely don't want to do it exactly, though, because that's really weird. Do it subtly, like if you can see this image up there. So while not immediately speaking to each other or even facing each other, these 4 men pictured are mirroring each other. They all have their hands up at their face. That's mirroring. I do it when I'm on physical projects, when their target touches their face or raises it to think about my request. Sometimes I'll scratch my face or my nose, or I usually wear glasses, so I'll push my glasses up and mirror their body language. And you can also mirror speech to get someone to feel your connection, which is so cool when you're actually doing it and you can tell that it's working. Because you can mirror the tone of voice, the speed, and the word choice of someone, and they'll change to mirror you back. Bethany will go over it in a little bit. It's called duetting. But you don't want to do it word for word because then they'll know that you're copying them if you say the exact words that they have. I use it most in vishing because it's more fluid that way since you can hear your target speak first when they answer the phone. So if I have like a perky girl that'll answer the phone, I'll change my voice to perky and I'll use a name like Ashley, Brittany, or Rachel, and they were more likely to help me. I don't know what it is. If someone uses the words like okie dokie or great when they're talking to you, you could say something like alrighty or perfect. Similar since they're synonyms, but they're not exact. But like I said, don't do it if you're unsure of yourself because it's just kind of sketchy.
All right, so that really brings us into wordsmithing, and we're going to focus on questions first. Okay, we have open-ended questions. These are used to gather specific information about someone or something. It's actually something that they teach you in creative writing for dialogue. Also, there's a lot of these kind of all of these kind of questions in both interrogation and sales techniques, which it's kind of funny how those two pair up. So an open-ended question. That's when you, instead of asking a yes/no question, you ask something that forces your target to say more. Like instead of saying, do you like John Johnson? You can say yes or no and just leave it. But if you say, how do you feel about John Johnson? They're going to have to tell you something. Then we have leading questions. They can lead a target in a specific direction. Lots of sales and interrogation techniques here. Instead of like, did Jim say something about my visit? Which is a yes or no question. You could say, were you able to read the email that Jim sent out about my inspection today? That leads them to think that there was an email. They should have gotten it, and they should have known about this inspection. Then you have assumptive questions. This is generally when you have either a really good educated guess or you actually have the information. It can be either used to gain trust because you're right, or in order to verify information. Like if you go up and ask somebody, you have a FortiGate firewall, right? You're saying that somebody's told you they have a FortiGate firewall. If the answer is yes, oh yeah, you know about the network. It's cool to talk about the network with them. If they say no, we have a Sophos firewall, then they're going to, one, give you more information. Now you know exactly what kind of firewall they have. And a lot of times they'll be like, who told you that? No, let's get everything right. And they'll again divulge more information.
Humans are so silly.
They are. All right. And you want to imply helpfulness. You do not want to just go, what is your password? It probably won't work.
If it does, they definitely deserve to be social engineered, so
yeah,
don't
just
feel
go
bad.
ahead. Just take everything. Get their trousers if you can.
Yeah.
All right. People generally don't like something being demanded of them. So in this sort of case, instead of saying, what's your username, say, hey, can you verify this username for me so I can make sure that I'm talking to the right person? Or for the password, can you verify your password for me so I can cross you off this list and make sure not to call you again? Nobody wants to be called twice, and you sound like you're helping them. By them giving you their password, they're doing something good for themselves, not something terrible for their entire organization.
Right.
You don't want to bombard people with questions, though. That might make them shut down. So you have to, again, balance. Get just the right amount of questions to get what you need and move on. Then we have sentences. This is about how you speak in general. There's a technique called positive confrontation. This is just making a strong and assertive statement. Instead of walking in and saying, is CEO in today? You can walk up and say, I have an appointment with Tim Cook at 11 a.m. That says, you know Tim Cook. You have an appointment, and it's important, and they better hurry up and get you to him. This is being assertive without being aggressive. Then you've got dueling and duetting. This falls back more on gender differences. John Locke, in his book about duels, which is actually called Duels and Duets, talks about how guys, when they interact with each other, they tend to duel with their friends, which is just teasing them about something, you know, things women would probably never say to each other, like, oh my God, those shoes look terrible, or did you even brush your hair this morning? And it's a playful thing. Duetting is typically between women. A lot of guys think that we're interrupting each other when we're talking, because one person will say, oh, you know, this happened to me, and the other one will go, oh yeah, this very similar thing happened to me. It's actually duetting. It's keeping the conversation going and finding common ground. And actually, it's a defensive technique, because if you give personal information out, that person could use them against you. But if they give something back, you both have that blackmail. So you know your stuff is safe. It's also why people tend to, if you divulge something personal, they want to give it back, give something personal about themselves, so you stay on that equal ground. Typically use that, like, when I'm at work, I duel a whole lot more than I do normally, because I'm surrounded by guys.
Yeah, we're the only female analysts at Trace, so.
Yeah.
They're all dudes. We're all dudes. It's fine.
Yeah. We take on very dude-like qualities.
Yeah.
Then there's softening statements, which is another thing women do a lot. This is a way of making your statement gentler so that you don't push somebody into a defensive or a confrontation.
My grandma calls it being diplomatic.
Diplomatic. Instead of saying, you know, like, you set this up wrong. Say something like, hey, I might be wrong, but I think this configuration setting should be this and not this. That gets them to go, oh, you're helping them. You're not saying you're an idiot because you turn the setting on. And they actually think about what you're doing and are more likely to fix it.
And this brings us back to anthropology. I love it. It's anthropology time. So one of those deep-rooted evolutionary traits that I talked about is trusting locals. It makes a lot of sense when you think about it. There's a chance that you'll see each other around town, or you know friends of their friends, or you know their family, or maybe will go into their job one day. So people don't want to have awkward encounters with each other when they live near each other, because that could lead to conflict, and conflict is bad, and you know, all that stuff.
Drama.
Yeah, they don't want drama. So, a lot of us in here from the South, which we have some pretty unique ways of speaking, so how can you appear local to other people? You want to start with your voice. It's probably the easiest method to tell where someone's from. People usually have to dress a certain way for work, so you can't really tell by their appearance. And we have some pretty telling accents in certain regions of the United States. I don't know if you guys have noticed, I tend to pick up a Midwestern accent because I grew up in Ohio. So it's hard to imitate, but if you can imitate accents well, use that to your advantage when you go somewhere else, or you call somewhere else. But when in doubt, you want to use your natural accents, because bad accents can be really sketchy and immediately telling.
We also have regional terms for things. I have to coach myself really hard not to say y'all when I go up north, because, yeah, that is a flag. You are not a Yankee. And that's incredibly difficult. Even small things like saying soda instead of pop can get you in trouble some places.
I got made fun of in elementary school because of that.
Yeah. Pronunciation is also really important. If you go somewhere and you don't know how to pronounce something, either ask a local that has nothing to do with your situation, or avoid pronouncing it whatsoever. I mean, in Louisiana, it is really easy to tell if somebody's not from around here, because you have Natchitoches,
Natchitoches,
Bossier City,
Bossier,
and Houma.
Houma.
Yeah, I'm not from Louisiana. Can you tell? Natchitoches Oh, it still throws me.
It makes me so enraged to see that word. Nakadish is the most enraging word ever. But when you say that you just moved here or you're going to school here, which is something that I've used before, I went to Boston for my first on-site project, and the guy that was training me said that we should probably try to look local. It was November, and I'm from Miami, Florida, so I had a really hard time. And I also can't do the accent, so I just said that I went to school there. It might work out in your favor if you do that, since humans tend to be very welcoming to new people because they want people to stay. So, what happens if they say no? Well, before you even start your test, you want to plan for this. Like, think about everything that could happen, what possible denials you'll get, and plan for them. I've made a sneaky checklist in Word with a logo I found on Google. And if someone says that they will not give me physical access for my insurance inspection, I'll be like, can you please just answer these questions so I could at least make it look like I did? I asked them like really sketchy questions like, who's your security vendor? Do you guys have a silent alarm? Do you use die packs on your cash? Like, they're all really sketchy, but I have like non-sketchy questions in there too, like how many disabled parking spots do you have outside? And even if that fails, I have a signature line. So if they're like, I can't answer those questions, I'll be like, well, can you just sign this so I can tell my boss that I was here? And they'll give me a signature, which is also a really bad idea. You can also play on sympathy. Like, if they say no, you could just be like, oh man, I have 5 other locations that I have to do today and really don't have time to wait for a confirmation. Is there anything we can do? I don't want to get in trouble for skipping this location. And people are like, oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, let's do something. Let's work something out. You can feign indifference, which is something that Kevin Mitnick is really famous for. I can't do my job. Whatever. You guys paid me to be here. I don't care. But you don't want to say that as you walk out the door because then people are just going to be like, okay, fine, bye. You just want them to have a reason to just relax and not be alarmed. You could try saying like, that's fine. Can you at least let Jim know that I was here and I tried? It'll give them a reason to think that you don't really care about getting their information, so you're not actually a threat. And if all else fails, you're probably doing an audit, right? Because we're all white hat in here. Yeah? Well, they passed. Move on. If you get too pushy or aggressive, you could trigger a warning bell in their head and they could call the cops, which would be bad news or good news because I'm an adrenaline junkie, so I'm like, yes, call the cops on me. And what do you take away from this talk today? Because this is about that. You want to build rapport because rapport will get you trust and trust will get you what you want. And the best way to do that is to be genuine and friendly. I don't like most people, so this is like really hard for me because I don't like human beings. I always smile and pretend to care more about them than anything else, so I really care about your password. So let's just, get to the nitty-gritty here and give me your password.
Everyone likes to talk about themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. And also make sure that my appearance fits my demeanor. Perky doesn't fit well with network technician, but I am a really small female, so perky fits me kind of well. I don't do intimidating because I end up looking like a toddler throwing a temper tantrum, so I try to pick ruses and pretexts that'll fit the way I look.
Her angry makes great vines, though.
Can we not? Don't look that up, please. If you're a really big dude and people have said that you look intimidating, you can do what I did, and you can change your demeanor to look timid, and you have an instant teddy bear vibe, which everybody loves. I don't know what it is, but guys, people love teddy bears. And you don't want to talk about yourself. You don't want to avoid it at all costs because that's incredibly sketchy, and people will be like, why does this person not want to talk about themselves? But you want to be more interested in what they have to say, which you should be anyway because they're probably going to give you information that you can use against them. And try to find a mutual interest because this is so powerful. You can take advantage of your surroundings and look around their desk or what they're wearing. And, maybe if you see like a picture of a dog or something or like a lot of pictures of dogs, chat about it. Even if you don't have a dog, you can make one up. They might think that there's a chance that they'll see you at the dog park later on because you're local, and they will bend over backwards to be accommodating because they don't want an awkward social encounter later. It's crazy. Mutual interests are really powerful. And one of the most common mistakes you can make is overthinking, which I do all the time and not just in social engineering. I get around it usually in social engineering projects because I don't speak on impulse and I go with the flow of the situation around me. I kind of just watch things play out and I'll hop in when I think the time is good. Potentially, if you overthink, you can misread body language or you can come off as rehearsed because you can overthink in the planning stage as well. You want to keep that balance in mind when you're planning out your pretext. If you work too hard on your details, like loading up on props like Bethany said, or rehearsing an exact script, you'll come off as rehearsed and unnatural, and people will be like, why do you sound like that?
I'm sure you can tell which parts of our script are brand new and which ones we've been working on for a while.
We finished the script this morning at like 10, so sorry guys. It was a surprise. She's a surprise speaker, so we had to change off some things.
Yeah.
So don't rehearse a solid one script. Usually what I do when for social engineering, I'll rehearse a few different things to say, and I won't actually know which one I'm going to use until it actually comes out of my mouth. That way you still know what to say and you don't sound rehearsed. And it's okay if you mess up. I mean, you're human. So is your pretext, unless you've gone horribly wrong somewhere in your life. So talk through it and act like you would if it were you, which is really, really useful for me. The more truths that you have in your pretext, like we said, the more natural your pretext will be. Like Bethany, I also have anxiety and I'm very twitchy. And I have a tendency to blush really easy. Thank you, anthropology. So I just use that. And when people say, what's wrong? Why is your face red? I'll be like, I'm so sorry. I have social anxiety and I'm really nervous right now. I get nervous around new people. It's true.
And it gets sympathy, which sympathy is huge.
Yeah, people will be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Here, let me help you out. Let me make you feel better. Okay, thank you. And finally, combine it all for success. Body language, demeanor change, word choice. It's all really easy, and it can be techy and sciencey if you think about it right. Because a lot of people don't think about it like a network. Social engineering can be compared to a network, and you can think about it like a network. Navigating through human psychology is like trying to bypass the security controls, right? Changing your tone and your body language and your demeanor could be like spoofing a MAC address to bypass the DHCP filter. And wordsmithing is a lot like programming. Like, it's almost identical to programming. So, it can be techy.
Yeah, that's how the English to programming worked really well.
Yeah. So, if you put it all together and use what we have mentioned and like do a little bit of research on where you're going, social engineering is a lot easier and can be a lot more fun because you'll get more compromises that way. And if you would like a list of references or if you'd like to talk to us about anything, we have talks at tracesecurity.com, which goes to both of us, and we will be around afterwards, probably doing the OSEC CTF. So come find us, please. We'd like to talk to you.
Geek out about things.
Yep.
So.
And that's it.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you for dealing with the tech problems. And thank you for your laptop.
Yeah, sorry it was a little crazy.